Happy lesson time is here again. Welcome, Module 6, Lesson 5, into the land of decimals. Let's do it. This is a nice straightforward one. We've done tenths, we've done hundredths, and now we're just going to hang there a minute and make sure we get this before we move on to anything really new. So we're going to say, okay, let's think now about tenths and hundredths, which we've already touched on, and let's look at area models, place value discs, make sure we're totally copacetic before we take the next step. So we'll be modeling out tenths and hundredths with area models and place value discs. But first, let's warm it up. 100, and when I say 100, I mean 100. No decimal, no fraction, just talking about the number 100. That's the same as 10 of what unit? Well, 10 whats make 100? 10 tens. Yes, 100 is 10 tens. You see how this works? Okay, now let's go to 10. Okay, so 10, regular old 10. 10 is the same as 10 of what unit? So 10 whats make 10. 10 ones make 10. Very good. Now, you know it always gets more interesting. Here we go. So now 1, regular old 1, just 1. 1 is the same as 10 of what unit? 10 whats make 1. Well, stop and think about money again. 10 whats make $1. 10 dimes make $1. 10 cents, okay, 10 dimes. And in decimals, you'd write a dime as a tenth of $1. So that is to say 1, down there at the bottom, equals 10 tenths. Picture 10 tenths as a fraction. That's equal to 1, right? Okay, I'm hanging on this because this is essential to your future success, okay? Because, and we're about to get a little step more brain combobulating. So if your brain feels scrambled at any point here, that is proof that you are normal. Good. 1/10 is the same as 10 of what unit? So 10 whats make a tenth? Again, go back to money. The tenth is a dime. 10 whats make a dime? 10 cents make a dime. Ah, cents are hundredths. Okay, so 10 hundredths makes 1/10. Picture this as fractions. 1/10 is 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 10 times, right? Okay, so 10 hundredths would do that. Oh, and you were hoping we were done. But no, I'm going to make it easier here. I take what we just did. Okay, this is 1/10, right? And we'd read this as 10 hundredths. That's the actual mathematically right way to read this number. 10 hundredths. 1/10 equals 10 hundredths. In the same way as 1 dime equals 10 cents. Okay? And I'm hanging on this for a while. Don't tell me, oh, you talk too much. I'm hanging on this because if you get this, then everything that follows is going to come a little bit more easily for you. All right. So let's move on. Write the decimal or fraction. Say the fraction. Say it. Say it. Good. 1/100th. Okay. So 1/100th, let's write that as a decimal. 0.01. And when you read it, notice you're going to say, what's the number I have here? 1, what place is it in? Hundredths place. Remember that. That's my little way of thinking about it here. 2 hundredths, okay. 0.02. Okay. Read the number. 2, what place are we in? Hundredths. Beautiful. That's how you read that as a math number. 2 hundredths. Same as a fraction. 3 hundredths equals, good, you're going to get to this now, 0.03. 3 in the hundredths place, read this as 3 hundredths. And that's how I do it. See that little 3 hundredths. What's the number? 3. Where am I? Hundredths place. 7 hundredths equals 0.077 hundredths. Okay. Ah, you knew I was going to ramp it up, didn't you? 17 hundredths now. You want to write this so that I'm just going to show you this one. So that when you say 17, because it's 17 hundredths, right? When we say 17, we end in the hundredths place. 17, where are we? Hundredths, okay? Because later on we're going to deal with something like 17 tenths. And I want you to see then that you're saying 17 and it would end in the tenths place. So I'm kind of setting you up for what comes later on. But this right now is 17 hundredths. Got it? All right. let's break down, decompose that 1700ths. That would be 10 hundredths plus 7 hundredths, right? Would give you 17 hundredths. The fractions help you to see how the decimals work. 13 hundredths would be 10 hundredths plus 3 hundredths. 13 hundredths. 13 hundredths, beautiful. 19 hundredths would be 10 hundredths plus 9 hundredths. 19 hundredths. 19, where are we? Hundredths. 42 hundredths would be 40 hundredths plus 2 hundredths. 42, read the number, where are we? Hundredths. Great. 100 hundredths. Okay, stop and think of money. 100 hundredths is 100 cents, 100 pennies. 100 cents would be $1. And isn't that how you write $1? Beautiful. So 100 hundredths equals 1. Why do we need these two zeros here? Because that's the level of precision. That's how I explain it to my students. You need those zeros and not just the 1 to be precise, because we're saying, hey, it's 100 hundredths. There is a difference, is there not, between having 100 pennies and having $1? They're equal. Yeah, don't yell at me. They're equal. I know that. I know that. I haven't lost my mind. But there is a difference between having 100 pennies in your hand and having a dollar bill, isn't there? So here you're saying, I have 100 pennies. I have 100. What place am I in? Hundredths. Beautiful. Let's count by tenths and then hundredths. Ready? 0 tenths, 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, 10 tenths, which is equal to 1 whole. Yes, we know. And now by decimals, 0 tenths, 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, and 10 tenths. It becomes something of a tongue twister. Nice job, y'all. Oh, but I'm not done. Hundredths, 0 hundredths. Now, wait. Are we going to go all the way up to 100 hundredths? Not on my time. 0 hundredths. 1 hundredth, 2 hundredths, 3 hundredths, 4 hundredths, 5 hundredths, 6 hundredths, 7 hundredths, 8 hundredths, 9 hundredths, 10 hundredths. Now think about that. 10 hundredths, 10 cents. 10 cents is equal to, oh, it's equal to a dime, isn't it? It's 1/10. Do you see that? I'm going to go back. 10 hundredths, 10 cents is 1 dime, 1/10. All right, now let's do it in decimals. 0 hundredths we're starting at. 0 hundredths, 1 hundredth, 2 hundredths, 3 hundredths, 4 hundredths, 5 hundredths, 6 hundredths, 7 hundredths, 8 hundredths, 9 hundredths, and 10 hundredths, which we already know is 1/10. Beauteous. Yes. Hallelujah. All right, moving on. Perimeter of a square. Perimeter. Oh, okay, perimeter's going measuring around, right? Measuring around. That's literally what the peri in here has two different meanings, but it can mean around, and the meter means to measure. So you're around measuring. Okay, so it's going to be in linear units, which is to say measuring length like meters. No square units here. That's area squarea, remember? All right, so perimeter, walking around the square, you would go, can you read this number? Read just the numbers. 48, what place are we in? Hundredths. 48 hundredths meter. What is the measure of each side length in centimeters? Did they give it to us in centimeters? No, they did not. Okay. There's a nice little tape diagram. Now, how does this make sense? Well, there's the whole perimeter, the 48 hundredths meter, and this is one side, S for side, because there are 4 sides that make up that perimeter. Great, and we're trying to find one side, albeit in centimeters. So let's start off with that 48 hundredths of a meter. Picture the meter stick. There are 100 centimeters in there. So 48 hundredths is 48 centimeters. So that's an easy conversion to make. And then we take that 48 centimeters, divide it by the 4 sides, and it is 12 centimeters. Look at that. The side is 12 centimeters. You thought this was going to be hard. I mean, like complicated. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. As long as you can make this jump right here, that 48 hundredths of a meter is 48 centimeters. The rest is cake, pie, and ice cream. So each side square has a length of 12 centimeters. Moving on. All right. We are going to simplify hundredths by division. We did this back when we were doing finding common denominators and equivalent fractions, and now we're just going to do it with the beauty of the decimals. Let's do it. We can show equivalence 10 hundredths, picture that fraction, 10 hundredths equals 1/10. We know that, right? 10 pennies equals 1 dime. We can show it the same way we used to do something like 2/4 equals 1/2 by using division. What am I talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. Look at these, what do they call them, decimal charts or something? I can't remember what they're called. So this is 1/10, this is 10 hundredths. Oh, begosh, begorra, they're equal. Okay, we already knew that, great. So one area over here, this is decomposed into tenths, and this one's into hundredths, but it's the same, they're equivalent. Key point. All right, now, there it is in fraction form. 1/10 equals 10 hundredths. We see it here in the area model as well. 1/10 in decimal form equals, read the number, 10, what place are we in? Hundredths. 1/10 equals 10 hundredths. Okay. I know I'm belaboring this. You're like, all right, get to the point already, man. You got to be solid on this lesson to go forward, because it always gets more difficult. Come on, you know that by now. All right. So now look at, I've changed things up here. 3/10 is how many hundredths? Before you answer, stop! Okay, I won't sing. All right, 3/10 is how many hundredths? 10, 20, 30. 3/10 is 30 hundredths. Oh, and it's right there. Okay, I see that now. This is 3 dimes. This is 30 pennies. 3/10, 3 dimes, 30 cents, 30 pennies. 3/10 equals 30 hundredths. In the area model here, 3/10 equals 30 hundredths. Over here in decimal land, 3/10 equals 30 hundredths. Now, remember I was saying I was beating you over the head with this, because now when we get to the division, it's going to be so much easier. Watch. Okay, here's the division. And you're like, oh, it's too much math, but you can handle it. Look, 30 hundredths, 30 pennies, divided by 10 tenths is 3/10. Oh, we remember how to do this, don't we? 3/10 times 10 tenths is 30 hundredths. Okay, so now we're doing the equivalencies with division and multiplication. Okay, let's do it without all the cutesiness. 7/10 is how many hundredths? Think of it this way. 7 dimes is how many pennies? 7 dimes, well, that's 70 cents, isn't it? 7 dimes, 70 cents. 70 hundredths, 7/10 equals 70. What place are we in? Hundredths. Great. Fraction form going the other direction. 70 hundredths. Okay, well, how many tenths is that? 70 cents is how many dimes? Well, we can do it out with the division, right? Dividing by what? These two numbers, when we're doing equivalents, must always be the same. You can't put 7/10 here, for example, and get an equivalent. It must be like, back when we were doing fractions, I'm saying like 2/2, 3/3, 5/5, and in this case, that's right, 10 tenths. And what do we get? 7/10. 70 cents is 7 dimes. I know I'm beating you over the head with this. It's to help you later, kid. All right. Going the other direction, starting with those 7 dimes. 7/10 equals 7/10 times what to give us hundredths? Yes, 10 tenths will give us 70 hundredths. Hot dog. All right. Now we're going to model hundredths with an area model. What does that look like? It looks like this. All right. Whoa. That's a big old tape diagram. Notice the whole is 1. These are tenths. 1/10, 2/10. And then this one is decomposed into 10 parts. So these are the dimes, the 2 big ones, and the little ones are pennies. 20 hundredths, 5 hundredths. Or we could say 2/10, 5 hundredths, right? So it's 25 hundredths. 2 tenths and 5 hundredths, 25 hundredths. 2 dimes and 5 pennies, 25 cents, 25 hundredths. Got it? All right, here we go. How do we write this as a fraction and a decimal? Fraction, 25 hundredths. Decimal, 25 hundredths. Oh, you must write, you say them the same way. All right, how would we shade it in on a decimal chart? Oh, that's what they call it. So this is a tape diagram, and this is a decimal chart here. All right, so there's the same tape diagram, and here's what it looked like in a decimal chart. 10, 20, 5, 25 hundredths. Beauteous. All right, and by the way, I'm going to go back to that. You got to do this in the problem set. So if you're like, all right, I got it already, well, you have to do it soon enough. See how tough you are then. I can compose hundredths to tenths using place value discs and then represent with the number bond. We're nearing the end here. Okay, so we're going to take, here's the area model again. 1/10 is 10 hundredths. We know this. Okay, great. There it is in fraction form. There it is in decimal form. 1/10 equals 10 hundredths. They are equal. That's the whole point here. All right. Here they are in place value discs. These are all hundredths. These are all pennies. We could actually put pennies here for all these. Those are all pennies. Those are all hundredths. 10 pennies, 10 hundredths, is 1 dime. 1/10. One more time. 10 hundredths equals 1/10. And then we have how many more down here? We have another 6 what? Hundredths, 6 hundredths, very good. So this is how we can decompose it. Here's decomposing it, represented with the number bond, here it is. 16 hundredths, we have 16 hundredths, green chips here all together. We have 1/10, when we group these up, 1/10, and we have 6 hundredths down here. Got it? That's how it relates to the picture. All right, now we're going to do it with a decimal fraction and write it in unit form. This is what that looks like. Here's 5 hundredths, place value discs. I drew them myself. No, I didn't. 5 hundredths as a decimal, 5 hundredths. These all represent the same thing. 5 hundredths, 5 hundredths, 5 hundredths. Beautiful. Now we're going to do it with 25 hundredths, which is like a quarter, right? You got a quarter? All right. Place value discs, fraction, and decimal. There's the fraction. 25 hundredths. That's easy enough, right? You remember that. Here we go. A decimal form, I'm going to show you that first. Here's decimal form, 25 hundredths. So that's 2 in the tenths place and 5 in the hundredths place. That's a way of thinking about it. When I decompose this, how many tenths are here? There are 2 tenths here. How many hundredths are here? There are 5 hundredths here. Got it? All right. I hope so, because here you are at the problem set, doing the same thing. See, you have the, what they call them? Decimal charts? Was that it? I can't remember. 3 tenths, we're going to go to hundredths. So what are we multiplying by? 10 tenths. Good. 50 hundredths, we're going to tenths. What are we dividing by? Again, you know it. All right. This is what we did before, breaking down 37 hundredths. What's in the tenths place? 3. What's in the hundredths place? 7. Drawing it out. In order to do this, notice that you have to draw your own horizontal line to make hundredths. And you probably remember from our fraction work, but to do that, you're going to draw 9 equally spaced horizontal lines in here in order to make 10 partitions, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then you'll have hundredths. That's a bit of a pain. Yeah. Good luck. All right, we're going to circle up these hundredths, these pennies, to make a dime. And then continue on. This was the last thing we did there. Here's another very similar example. Group up how many hundredths are here in all. That's what goes here. How many hundredths are here in all. Then how many tenths can you group up? And how many hundredths does that leave you with? All right. Now here you're doing the same thing, however, just without the pictures. So 3 hundredths, write it as a decimal. How many hundredths is that? 15 hundredths, write it as a decimal. 15 hundredths. Then decompose it. How many tenths you got? How many hundredths you got? Okay. Same thing now, but they're making you do a little bit more of the work yourself. 72 hundredths as a decimal. 72 hundredths, write it as a fraction. Oh, read the number. It's 80. What place are we in? Hundredths. 80 hundredths is like 80 cents. So how many tenths is that? So you will not put 80 here. It is not 80 tenths. I'll give you that. On this one, they're just giving you the unit form, 7 tenths, 2 hundredths. You write the fraction and the decimal. 80 hundredths. Oh, you caught it. Yeah, it's the same as this one, but with a slight difference. Very slight. Okay. Exit ticket's the same thing, but cheaper and easier. And then, of course, for homework, head over to homework time for this lesson. And look what you've done now. You've gone and finished another beautiful Eureka math lesson, Module 6, Lesson 5. God bless us all. Have a wonderful time, and I will see you next time. It is, once again, lesson time.